Fico is leading a three-party coalition, and it is a man who has changed the direction quite markedly of Slovakia in recent months.
Yes, I mean, taking Slovakia in a completely different direction as far as foreign policy was concerned, very pro-Russian, anti-Ukraine. Interestingly, in those tributes, Zelensky has sent his tribute. He sent his, I mean, there's nothing to be gained by being churlish about this, and Zelensky is a good enough communicator to know he should. Interestingly, I've not yet seen anything from the Kremlin. I'll be very interested to see theirs. It might be coming in as I speak. I wonder why they're a little bit slow. Maybe because they just do things a rather bureaucratic way, and maybe nobody's sure until they can get the boss to sign it off. But I'm very surprised that we haven't had a Kremlin statement immediately, or maybe they're going to make a longer statement. But it is interesting because this is an unacceptable political act by any standards across Europe, but it will have political reverberations because, as we're saying, the internal politics of Slovakia is very febrile at the moment. And internationally, Slovakia is standing with these 3 or 4 states in Europe that are changing their view on the Ukrainian war and are now become far more Russian-minded. They take Putin's narrative as to what the war is all about. They say we are the people in favour of peace, because what they mean by peace is that the Ukrainians should give up and Russia should keep the territories that it's conquered. I was at a meeting only last night with a very high-ranking British official who said that Putin would accept negotiations tomorrow if we were offered them, but his negotiation would be that I keep everything. What else are you going to give me? Right. You know, he wouldn't be giving anything.
He just said that today in China that he's up for negotiations.
Exactly. Yes. I mean, you know, negotiation to Putin means that we stop fighting now, and I keep everything that I've conquered. So that's what the peace party in Europe now represents, and that is it's not a welcome message for the rest of Europe. And Fico is one of the politicians who is very assertive on that. He was very assertive on domestic issues as well, and that's actually created this very divisive atmosphere in Slovakian politics over the last year, really.
And he was elected in September of 2023, yep. And on a ticket with that kind of message.
Exactly. I mean, a very important part of his ticket was that we must not get drawn into war in Europe, i.e. we must not stand up to Russia in the way that other states think we have to, and we must. And so, in a sense, he posed as the peace party, but by the peace party, he meant the pro-Russia party. And it's not often in any European politics, really, that foreign affairs looms so large, but it did in the Slovakian election, because it was about the basic orientation of the country. Which way was the country going to lean? And I mean, he's like Viktor Orban in Hungary, he will hedge his bets by, as it were, remaining part of NATO, remaining part of the EU. Of course, he's rowing with the EU all the time over particular issues, particularly on immigration, on all sorts of social policies, and he gets support by standing up to the EU and looking as if he's not going to be browbeaten by the bureaucrats in Brussels. But beneath that, there is this sort of sense that whilst Slovakia is a part of the European family, it's a part of the European family that is looking towards Moscow and Russia for the future orientation, that it will lean somewhere between Western Europe or Western Central Europe and the East, Moscow and the East. And that's a very uncomfortable position for the other members of NATO and the EU, for some of its members to be taking.
OK, Professor Clarke, thank you very much for that.